Hey everyone, and welcome to the second part of my lockdown home workout using only resistance bands and body weight. In today's video, I'll be covering exercises for our latissimus or lats, our rear and upper shoulder, our biceps, and finally our lower back and optionally also our weights. Again, if you want to follow my personal fitness routine, I suggest to do 4 sets for each of those muscle groups. And I do them on 3 days a week, and in between the exercises of the first part you might have already seen. But of course, you can and should adjust it to your liking, for example, doing each part only 2 times a week. Also, you shouldn't forget endurance training like jogging or cycling, which, to be honest, I have neglected for far too many years. And especially if you want to cut off some weight, endurance training, regular endurance training, does really wonders. The first exercise is lat pull down, with which, who would have guessed it, we want to train our latissimus. As a side note, if you have the possibility to do pull-ups, I would always suggest to do those instead, as they are, in my opinion, one of the most effective exercises for your lats. Personally, I regularly do them in the middle of my jogging route as I come by one playground and just make a stop to do some pull-ups. We take 2 resistance bands and anchor them somewhere, for example, at our door. Depending on the anchor point, lean your upper body a bit forward. The higher the anchor point, the less you have to lean forward. During the whole exercise, keep your back as straight as possible. Another important point is to strongly focus onto your lats, such that you pull all strength out of your lats and avoid working with your triceps. Again, if we want to squeeze the rest out of your muscle, just take a step forward and do some more repetitions. The alternative for this exercise is pretty similar, mainly just for the sake of variety and to hit our muscle in a slightly different way. The only difference is that instead of keeping our arms close to the body, we lift them up. Having our resistance bands still anchored, we can now proceed with reverse flies in order to train our rear shoulder, but also slightly our upper shoulder. Stay straight and keep your arms almost stretched, but not completely. The main benefit of this variation of reverse flies is that you don't need any anchor point. For example, if you're on holidays, like hiking or something where you necessarily don't find a proper anchor point. Other than that, if you have small wrists like I do, you might find this exercise a bit uncomfortable for your wrist. And again, to squeeze the rest out of your muscle, there's a lot of possibilities to slowly reduce the resistance, like for almost all exercises using resistance bands. To train our upper shoulder, I guess there's almost no way around good old flies. Take 2 resistance bands and step with your feet on each of them. To increase the resistance, you can cross them. And further by widening your step size. And finally, we train our biceps with curls. To adjust the resistance to your liking, just wrap the resistance bands 1 or 2 times around your hands. Keep your upper arm as static as possible. And now that I see this, it seems that I have chosen the resistance a bit too high, as it seems that I help with my shoulder in the upper part of the movement. For this variation of curls, just combine the blue and the yellow band if you don't have a stronger one. Step on the band and grab it from above. And the last exercise for today, for which I have actually no clue how to call it. If you know how to call this exercise, maybe you can write it in the comments. Nevertheless, it's a good alternative to deadlifts in the gym, and it trains our lower back, our ass, and we can optionally train our weights as well with it. Just lay on the ground and raise your hip up and down. Maybe it's called hip raising, hip ups, maybe. If you have a dumbbell at home, you can increase the resistance by laying it onto your hip. or alternatively to the dumbbell, or maybe even combining both techniques at the same time, just raise one of your legs. Thanks for watching, and again, if you have questions or maybe even some suggestions, just write me a comment.